Hey, hello everybody. This is Gary Matheny, your host and sponsor of the Liberty Observatory. Please like, follow, share as you would like. Liberty Observatory addresses many and various issues: historical, religious, political, sociological, philosophic, scientific, all with an eye on liberty. So if you are interested in liberty, if you are interested in finding more and more freedom, both from within, that's within yourself, and from without, that's from your culture without. It's a blessed, blessed thing to be free from the in and from the out. However, you'll need to review a number of these programs that I've produced or episodes that I've produced as it relates to liberty. But my eye will always be on liberty. So today, we're going to go down the political vein. And you could say that it's quasi-religious as well. The title of today's program is In Defense of Liberty, in defense of Israel. That's right, I've said in defense of liberty and in defense of Israel. But we're going to primarily focus upon Israel. First of all, there's much criticism regarding Israel's aggression. There's two main areas that they are being accused of aggression. One is Gaza. From October 7th, when Hamas sponsored the genocide of Israelis, I don't know what other term to use. They murdered many people. I know that people on the opposite side of the equation are accusing Israel of genocide. Israel's response basically has been they need to root out Hamas. Hamas will always come back, and Hamas has embedded itself within the Palestinian people. See, it's kind of like a little boy hiding themselves behind the skirts of his mother. So you got a bullied little boy who beats up a neighborhood kid, and then when somebody goes to confront him, he hides behind his mama's skirts and dares you to say something critical about him in front of his mother. And so Hamas is hiding behind the skirts of the Palestinian people. And I don't know whether the Palestinian people understand how much they are being exploited by Hamas. And so Israel's response basically is, this is what we got to do to root out Hamas, because we're not going to go through another October 7th. As you know, ever since the Holocaust, the Jews have said repeatedly, and justified in doing so, never again. The second area where Israel has been roundly criticized is the bombing of Iran. Now, Iran doesn't hide its cards. Iran, ever since its findings under the Ayatollahs, which, I think dates back to the 1970s, death to Israel, death to Israel, death to Israel. And there's also death to America, death to America, death to America. And so these scenarios have not changed. It's been consistent. And yet, why bomb Iran? Well, one of the reasons is that Iran is being accused of using Hamas and Hezbollah as puppets, as leading a proxy war against Israel. So Iran just gives them supplies and equipment, and they fight Israel, and and Iran chants, "Death to Israel, death to Israel, death to Israel." But there's a particular problem with Iran, and that is the nuclear weapon issue. For some wild, inexplicable reason, under the Obama administration, we gave Iran a boatload, literally a boatload of cash, in order to delay their nuclear development 10 years. It's almost like Obama kicked it down the road. In other words, he didn't want to deal with it. It wasn't a priority. And so I'll pay them a bunch of cash to delay their development of nuclear weapons. And so intelligence, and I'm one of these people that I don't know how much to trust some of this intelligence that we hear, but intelligence, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, are basically saying that Iran is now building up enriched uranium. This is uranium that is different than uranium that you use in a nuclear power plant, though I don't understand why Iran needs a nuclear power plant when the Middle East is just full of oil. But, they could hide behind that and say, well, we need uranium for a nuclear power plant. But the type of uranium that is used in a nuclear bomb is enriched and qualitatively different than uranium used in a energy site, nuclear energy. And so Iran is being accused of developing nuclear weapons, all done under the Gitlow, trying to keep it secret and quiet. It's been the policy of the United States, even before Trump, that Iran should not have a nuclear arsenal. It's been the policy of Israel that Iran should not have a nuclear arsenal. And so basically things have finally come to a head. Iran has forged ahead, and America and Israel have expressed their policy in no uncertain terms that you're not going to have a nuclear warfare. I mean, you have sworn to the destruction of our relative countries. And so Israel has been attacking Iran with bombs. And Iran has been attacking Israel with bombs and missiles. And so what do we do now? What do we do now? Well, apparently there's one side in particular in Iran that's buried very deep. It's like 300 feet down or something like that traditional weapons cannot reach. And so we are at a head here as it relates to the bunker bombs, the bunker blasting bombs. And these are the ones that are designed towards blowing up bunkers. The way I understand how they work, and I'm no expert on military, is that the bomb is driven into the bunker, and then it explodes, where most bombs explode upon impact. So it explodes on the surface. The bunker blasting bombs, they furrow through the surface, get lower, and then they explode. But who has the bunker blasting bomb? The United States of America. Should the United States of America use the bunker blasting bomb to get the last known weapons for nuclear warheads in Iran? In my opinion, the answer is no. But we should be willing to let Israel have that weapon and let them at their discretion decide when and where to use that weapon. I mean, there's already a ton of weapons being sent from the United States to Israel. What's wrong with a bunker blasting bomb? It may actually end things in Iran. And I'm not talking about the final destruction of Iran, blowing it off of the map. I'm talking about ending the nuclear weapon industry in Iran, so they will not be a nuclear threat to other countries, peace-loving countries. Well, let's back up a moment and see what Gary has to say about Gaza. Well, Gary's position on Gaza is even more controversial than the bunker busting bomb. And that is that Israel should annex Gaza, bring it on into Israel. The question of a state for Palestine it's over. God bless Palestinians. God bless them. Many of them are victims. But you got Hamas operating through Gaza that will not relent, and they need to be rooted out. So if Israel were to annex Gaza, bring Gaza into the full membership and citizenship of Israel, that means all the Palestinians there would have the full rights and responsibilities of an Israeli citizen. They can call themselves Palestinian, but they're Israeli citizens. Well, I'm Scot-Irish, but I'm an American citizen, and that doesn't seem to bother me. I don't go around telling everybody I'm Scot-Irish and act like, I shouldn't be an American. I am an American, but I'm descended from Scot-Irish, and that's just the way it is. I'm not embarrassed about it, and I don't feel offended that basically I'm a Scot-Irishman living in America. So a Palestinian, even though they may not like it a lot, being an Israeli citizen may not make them the happiest, but it gives them the full rights and responsibilities. The downside of this, and I've been warned about this, is that the Palestinians have different demographics than Israel. Israel's pro-Western, and it has Western values. That means delayed in getting married and smaller families. And the people in Gaza, the Palestinians, get married earlier and they have more kids. And so that means over time, if you follow those demographics, that Palestinians are going to be more and more influential within the Israeli government. Well, if that's the way it happens, that's the way it happens. It's democracy we're talking about. We cannot annex Gaza and not give its citizens rights and responsibilities. And I say, give them the same rights and responsibilities of Israeli citizens, and they may actually integrate within Israeli society better than they are now. So let's move on to a different subject. That different subject is why defend Israel? Well, I'm going to start off with a couple of religious reasons and finish with a secular reason. First of all, the Abrahamic covenant. Genesis 12. Abraham is referred to the father of faith and his covenant with God, where God promises Abraham, as part of that covenant, I will bless those that bless you, and I will curse those that curse you. So why not bless Israel? I'm not saying justify misdeeds. I'm just saying recognize Israel's right to exist. Don't be harsh and hard-hearted towards them. Which gives rise to the second reason, and probably my most important reason, is that we have to understand that the Israelites, the Jewish people, were the holders of the oracles of God for generations, for a couple thousand years, until the advent of Christ. And my view is you can't really understand the Christian faith unless you have some type of working knowledge of the Jewish faith. In other words, the Old Covenant, the Old Abrahamic Covenant, the Old Testament, and how the two interrelate to each other. We should honor Israel for the simple reason they were the holders of the oracles of God to the revelation of Jesus Christ, and God bless them for that. They almost lost it a few times. The temple was destroyed in 586 BC. They were hauled off to by Nebuchadnezzar to Babylon, and lots of bad things happened during that period, but they held on to the oracles of God. And as Christian people, we should be eternally grateful for that. A third religious reason is that we, as Christian people, want to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are the children of the promise. Well, how do we serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? By faith. We are grafted in by faith in Jesus Christ and what he's done. And so basically, we don't want to serve the God of Ishmael. Ishmael is not the child of the promise. Isaac was the child of the promise. And all the Ishmaelites, Islamists, or whatever they want to call themselves, who want to serve the God of Ishmael, so be it. But I want to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I don't want anybody to interfere with that. I am a man of liberty, and my conscience dictates that I must serve the Lord Jesus Christ. And that has grafted me into a children of the promise, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so let's move ahead. Let's just put this religious rigmarole aside. Even though I take it seriously, doesn't mean that the listeners take it seriously. But here's the secular reason. And that is Israel is a pro-Western democracy. Depending on who's counting, there are 19 to 22 Arab countries in the Middle East, overwhelmingly Islamic, and nil really are pro-Western democracies. You got a couple of them that are royalty, that have emperors or whatever they're called over there, caliphs or whatever, but they're not really democracy. And when it really comes down to it, are they really pro-Western? They're pro-Western in the sense that they benefit from being pro-Western. But with Israel, they're pro-Western and they are democracy. In other words, we have shared values with them. And if you put aside all the religious reasoning that Gary has just given you, and you adopt the secular reason that we should defend Israel and be in defense of Israel because it is a pro-Western democracy. Thank you all very much for joining me today. Have a great day. Thank you.